Stephen Page has just released his first solo record in 4 years. Excelsior came out digitally Friday. It'll also be available on CD November 11th, and a 2 LP vinyl version that comes out early 2023. And we welcome Esteban Page to CP24 Breakfast. Stephen, good morning.
George, my old friend, how are you?
Great. It's been a long time since you and I have spoken. Look, I figure you've got digital, CD, and vinyl. Why stop there? Why not retro, cassette, 8-track, Laserdisc, floppy, and Betamax?
Well, the cassette, that's like classic old school Bare Naked Ladies. So why not?
I know that.
I should have done it, but all I think about is what do I have in my car? Right now I have AirPlay and I still have a CD player, so that's it. But now I have to get a record player to plug into my car too.
I am down with all of that, like 4 flat tires.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yes.
So here we are, Stephen, 35 years later, me still on TV, you still making music for a living. We both had some stumbles along the way, but we try to stumble forward. Isn't that really what Excelsior is all about?
That's exactly right, because it means ever upward. And I've been living in upstate New York outside of Syracuse, and was there through all the lockdown time, which meant that I couldn't see my kids, my parents who live in Toronto, and it was like, you make the best of it. Yeah. And I found a lot of connections, online with fans and stuff. It was the best I could do. And then when finally the doors could open up again, I could come back up to my studio in Canada and finish this record.
And that was the great sort of pandemic paradox, right? Isolation was the best way to keep the virus at bay, but the worst way to be a human being.
Yeah, it was like, and for those of us who make our living, on the road in front of live audiences, that was terrifying. We had to, like the rest of the world, had to pivot and figure out ways to do it online. And I didn't think I was into it at all, but it turned out great. And it ended up doing these like 92, exactly, 92 of these Zoom concerts.
Which is a great idea, look, everybody became adept at it to some level. You took it and ran with it. So my question is this a pandemic record? When we put this thing on 20 years from now, will it clearly sort of evoke the echoes of, how our heads and hearts and guts connected over these past 2+ years?
I think in a way it is. And it's part of me wants to say, no, it's not, because I know some people are like, I don't know if I want to hear any more pandemic stuff. But you have to be honest about what you're going through. And some of these songs existed in some form or another going into the pandemic. And I thought, like, in the first 3 months of the pandemic, I'd have this record done and, all this free time to make this thing. But just like everything slowed down. Like every day felt like they were, it was like a day and a half squeezed into a day. And then you go, what did I do? Nothing. And that's kind of like what took so long. But it also allowed me to process all the feelings I had inside of these songs in a lot more of a real way. Because the record's about, the big issues, what's bigger than us, what's out there, whether it's spiritual questions or questions about science and outer space or questions about interpersonal stuff. And what better time than the pandemic to do a lot of navel gazing. Yeah,
you've always been a great, honest witness when it comes to the inner and the outer space, Stephen. I want to know, what about touring with the trio and fronting this record as well on the road? I know you're a bit of a studio rat. You'll, fetishize and finesse things. But isn't it really completing the creative circle to get out there in front of people again?
Totally. And one of the crazy things is just I never thought I would witness is all these people that I've watched for the last 2.5 years on Zoom. And I've looked inside their living rooms and their backyards and whatever, and they've all met each other online. I get to stand on stage and watch these people meet each other in person for the first time.
Right.
And it's heavy. And then last night, I got to go and open for the Who at the Scotia.
I mean, what a trip.
It was,
right?
Wow. Whatever it is, 15, 20,000 people in there. And I get to do this thing that I've been going to see the Who since I was a teenager, or preteen. And here I am. I get to meet Pete Townsend backstage.
Oh, my God.
Get to go and sing Old Apartment and Brian Wilson in front of a hometown crowd.
I mean, that's just so awesome. Yeah, I saw them, their first farewell show, Exhibition Stadium, is 87 or 88, and they're still blowing the roof off the joint. You got to open for them. Stephen, I wish we had more time, but that's it for now. Excelsior's out. It's coming out on every available format you can imagine. Good luck with it. Good luck with the tour. Let's do this again. Let's not wait like 1,000 years to talk, okay?
That would be great.
All right.
Anytime.
Stephen Page or Esteban Page.
I love it.
As I will say.
Well, if there was one rags to riches stories to come out of Bay Street, that's boardroom deal maker Wes Hall's story. He spent his formative years in mostly plantations in Jamaica, ultimately rising to one of Canada's biggest business persons. Wes Hall is the author of No Bootstraps When You're Barefoot, My Rise from a Jamaican Plantation Shack to the Boardrooms on Bay Street. And Wes joins us now live on CP24 Breakfast. Wes, it is so great to have you here this morning. Your story is really quite inspiring and remarkable. And I just want to, I don't like to use notes normally, but I need to for this because, you know, I read through your book, what you suffered, you know, the abuse, the poverty, the racism here, you know, it's unbelievable challenges. And you even write early in the book, this is not an instruction manual and what you've accomplished should not have been possible.
Yeah.
So what was it about you in particular that enabled you to overcome these obstacles? Like, you must have done a lot of introspection and thinking about this, because I'm sure your story wasn't necessarily that unique to where you grew up, but how did you get where you are?
I know it's a lot of people will see the book and go, oh man, I'm going to see how I can make a lot of money and become rich and get on Dragon's Den and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually, my story has been told in reverse in the book. A lot of people see this Wes Hall. But the book is going to start with me being abandoned in a house with my 4-year-old sister and my 6-month-old brother. That's how it started. My mother just left us with a bowl of porridge, and that's it. The porridge was done, and we were crying. And this neighbor came by and go, what's going on? Realized that my mother left, and we don't know how long she left, but we know we're hungry. And my grandmother was working at a plantation, and she went to the neighbor went to the plantation to get my grandmother, and that's when I started to live with her. And she was 60 at the time, and she had a lot of my mom's kids. She had some of my cousins and stuff like that. And I went to this 2-bedroom plantation. There was like 10 of us in there on my grandmother's plantation salary. And that's how it started. And I spent 11 years living with her. And then I went to live with my mom in the city. She just showed up in my life when I was 11.
Took you back, basically.
And took me back. And then my life just completely got chaotic at that point. Until I was 13, 3 years later, she said, okay, you're out on your own. And she threw me out. And I lived on my own in Jamaica from 13 to 16. And then I came here at 16 years old. Yeah.
Do you feel, I mean, lucky's probably the wrong word, but how do you feel about what it is you've done? Because like you mentioned, you were the first black, person on the Dragon's Den set. Remarkable effort there. What you've done on Bay Street as well is pretty incredible as well. But the hurdles you've overcome, like you said, the ladders that had missing rungs, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What goes through your head when you consider all of what you've been through?
You know, it's funny because when you're living your life, you live your life. You don't think about all the hardships. When you're going through the hardship, you think about it while you're going through it, but you come up with solutions. But once you overcome them, you don't go back and look at it. You just kept on going, and then the next obstacle shows up, and you got to overcome that as well. Yeah. And it's only later on, like when I'm writing the book, that I look at all these different obstacles and I go, man, I shouldn't have been here. And but there's a lot of people going through them right now. A lot of young kids being abused. There's a lot of people going through mental anguish. And there's a lot of people experiencing systemic racism. And I've been through all those things along the way. And any one of those things could derail my progress. But it didn't. Because my grandmother was such a hard-working, industrious person. Could you imagine at 60 years old, you were told that you already have 7 kids being looked after and it's not yours, and then there are 3 more, and you're working for nothing essentially? What would you do? You would start to blame God, blame life, and just, my grandmother said, listen, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to move on. And so that's the attitude that I took along with me through life. When I overcome obstacles, I go, that's something that I had to do, and I move to the next one, and I move to the next one until, you never know where life is going to take you.
Well, I'll tell you, your book took my breath away in a few chapters there. There were just some remarkable things. There's also some really uplifting portions of it. Wes, I wish we had some more time this morning, but listen, thanks for coming in. The book launches today. Look for it in bookstores. It is quite an amazing read. Good luck with this, Wes. Thanks so much for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate this.
Okay.
Pretty good. Since then, she's been a real mover shaker, claim staker, risk taker, rule breaker, and now a hit maker with her latest and highest charting track today, Victoria's Secret. And we welcome Jax to CP24 Breakfast. Good morning. Welcome to Canada Land.
Good morning. Canada, what's up?
It's your first visit.
Yes, I've been here for less than 3 days, and I've tried to walk around the city like a crazy person.
That's good. No, that's good. That's how you do it. You got to do it from the ground.
Yes.
Let's start with social media.
Yeah.
Look, these days it's become a real easy target, right? For a lot of people, it's kind of, they say it's shallow, it's mean, it's addictive, but it has so much potential for good, and it's going through growing pains like anything does, right? I mean, in my generation, it was all TV will, burn your eyes and your brain out. For my parents, it was radio and movies, right?
Yeah.
Don't go, all that stuff. But, you found great success with Victoria's Secret. Beyond the great hooks and licks, what makes the song good, the track really speaks to people in a powerful way. Why do you think that is?
I think maybe the difference between the song and maybe a sad song about this concept is that it's kind of sarcastic and funny, and we were kind of taking it back, what was taken from us. So we could chant and rage a little bit, and yeah, it's been cool to see the response on TikTok and stuff.
Was that a conscious thing? I mean, adding some levity and sort of, making the message a little more easy to sort of digest? Or did that just come naturally? Or
yeah,
was
that's
that a
just
plan?
who I am. I've always been told I make jokes at inappropriate times, and
welcome to the club.
My therapist says I deal with my trauma using humor. So
that's okay. You know what? You got to get through it. You got to get through it any way you can. Now, what you're in town for is a very important performance as part of International Day of the Girls, Dreamer Day.
Yes.
What is it?
It's a really, really cool, it's going to be an awesome concert. It's basically, we're going to be supporting young females that are in male-dominated industries and doing a little take down the patriarchy concert all together. And we're going to sing and perform and hang out. And I'm so excited.
That's, so you're, I don't know, unintentional role model now. Are you comfortable with that?
Oh, God.
Like, young girls look up to you. They want to talk to you about issues that are important to them.
I don't know if I'm the right person to preach necessarily, but because I'm not in the best place in the world either, but I thought maybe it was a good time to shake the little ones and be like, I hope you don't end up where I am today, and love your body and take it back. It's yours. Own it.
What I really like about what's happening with Dreamer Day, it talks about some of the things that are important to young women to get involved in, and we always talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, but it's STEAM when it comes to this. They add the A in there for the arts. I think the arts should be part of that whole brain thing too. It shouldn't be like, you're either in the math camp or the arts camp.
Yeah.
Why can't they all be together?
Amen.
Right?
I think a huge issue is pigeonholing kids and sticking them in classrooms when they're creative geniuses and stuff. So that's a great point.
You're LA based now, but you're a Jersey girl at heart. If music didn't pan out, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't even know how that's. I have nope. I couldn't even begin. Probably at working at a pizzeria. Nothing against that. I did that as my first job.
My dream is to work in a bakery, and just.
Should we open up a pizza bagel bakery?
I'd eat my way through it. I can't serve it. I would eat it all. I love donuts.
Me too. Okay, I think maybe we should just go out to eat food.
Music's done. Last thing, I see from your socials, MSG in New York City for the iHeartRadio Jingle Ball this holiday season. I guess dreams do come true, right? This is a big deal.
You have no idea.
Right?
I grew up going to the Garden for concerts, elbows on sneaking down to the front row and stuff, and that's been my bucket list dream since I started singing to play the Garden. So. A little nervous, but I'm really excited.
It's going to go well. Jax, congrats on Victoria's Secret. All the success.
You.
Thanks for coming to town for Dreamers Day.
Thanks for having me.
It's a good thing, and we appreciate your time. And welcome to Canada, and come back
I'm going to try some poutine before the show.
Oh, you got it. You got it. It's delicious.
Yeah, I believe it.
You can put it on your pizza, too.
Really?
Yeah, you can. Comedian and writer Ali Hassan will join us to talk about his memoir. A conversation with him is coming up. Jax, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, here's something we've talked about a lot recently, food inflation. It may have peaked, but of course prices do remain high, and really who knows for how long. So foodie and creator of the Zero Waste Kitchen and author of Cook More, Waste Less, Christine Tizzer joins me now live to show us how to, and George wrote this, I love this introduction, to save a buck, your waistlines, and the planet.
I don't know about your waistlines. I don't know what he's talking about there.
George needs his waistline saved, apparently, so maybe that's what he was thinking. I'm not a shot at George, by the way. Okay, so let's get into this. And first of all, when we talk about zero waste, a lot of people are talking about best before versus expiry dates. There seems to be some confusion and concern here.
It's very confusing. And it drives me crazy at the grocery store. But anyways, let's get into it. Expiry dates means the food's expired. You throw it out. And in Canada, there's only 5 types of food items that have expiry dates. And they're things like infant formula and meal replacements, things like that. So we don't really have to worry about that too much. But best before, I like to think of it as a reminder that something is at its best.
Almost a hint.
Its best flavor, and best nutritional value. But so many things last way beyond their best before dates. For instance, let's just take simple things, milk, dairy, eggs, right? once you open your milk, then like if someone leaves it on the counter, that best before date is kind of already gone out the window, right? But eggs, for example, can last up to weeks past their best before date. Milk and yogurt, a couple days to a week. But then you kind of have to do like the smell and the taste test sometimes.
Which can be a little gross depending on how best before it is or how long you've let it go, but that's a really good point.
Very true.
So we've got the sort of stuff that you may refrigerate, but then we've got your pantry items as well, I suppose, which maybe last a little longer or maybe never go bad.
There are pantry items that never go bad.
Amazing.
Some of them are popcorn. The microwave stuff has a best before date.
Okay.
This stuff can last forever. White rice, dried beans and legumes. The other really interesting one is honey.
Really?
Even after it's opened, it'll last forever. So it's a good investment, right?
Absolutely.
And
it gets
then,
a little hard sometimes, I find.
Yes, you can warm it up a little bit. You can nuke it in the microwave, things like that. But it's still good. It's still good. And bouillon cubes. Always great to have on hand. The Tetra Packs, once opened, you only get a week out of them in the fridge.
Yeah, true. So the cube's perfect because you can sort of add as many or as few as you need. And then there's the pantry staples that last longer than the best before dates, i.e. the canned stuff.
The canned stuff. And I do like to stock up on these as well. But once again, canned items like beans, vegetables, 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Tuna, 5 years.
5 years?
5 years. Peanut butter, 2 years. Once it's opened, then, you might want to see a little bit.
Now, is that the sort of natural peanut butter or is that the sort of processed peanut butter? Because there's sort of two kinds, right?
Well, I would assume the processed stuff would last even longer because of all the sugar and salt, right? So maybe if you're doing your waistline thing again, George, wherever he is, you might want to think about that. And maple syrup, unopened, 2 years. After that, you want to pop it in your fridge. Chocolate is the really interesting one, but it's only dark chocolate. 5 years.
I love dark chocolate.
Can last.
It would never last 5 minutes, let alone 5 years for me.
5 years. If you find your favorite dark chocolate on sale, stock up on it.
Okay. That's all I need to hear. That's all I need to hear about dark chocolate. I'll get into that. What about bread? What is the deal here?
Breads are a little annoying for me. They have these little things all over the place. And to me, it makes no sense. Because for me, if I'm buying a loaf of bread, I like now, for food waste purposes, I like to buy it sliced. I put it in the freezer right away. And I take out a couple slices at a time. In the freezer, it'll last 6 months to a year. So these things, once again, it's optimal freshness. But I mean, if you're leaving it on your counter, it's super hot, or you know what I mean? It's subjective.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. It's subjective is such a thing, and you're right. I mean, the bread in the freezer thing is a neat little trick that my wife actually showed me. I've never done it before. I don't eat a lot of bread, but it's a great idea, right? You pull out the slices that you need, put them in the toaster, warm them up somehow, and you've got your bread.
Exactly. And the freezer, I mean, you can put almost anything in the freezer, and it'll last you another.
Yeah. Well, listen, cook more, waste less. Check that out, because Christine, you got some great tips here. Really appreciate you coming in today. And hey, hang on to those canned goods. Appreciate this.
Excited because I'm always hungry. I know Andrea is such a good cook. The Thanksgiving gatherings are coming up this long weekend, and your guests are hungry like me. When it comes to the feast, you want to start off strong. To share her easy Thanksgiving appetizers that are simple to make is food expert and friend of the show, Andrea Bucket. Welcome, welcome. I love having you here.
Thanks.
It's so nice to be in person.
It's nice to be appreciated. Everyone loves food, right?
Everyone loves food. Everyone loves you, Andrea. Okay, we're starting things out. This is such a lovely array. Colorful and looks delicious. But let's start off with the beef and blue cheese. Is that
mushroom? Yeah, beef and blue cheese stuffed mushroom cap. Wow. Yeah, so all of these are done in the air fryer, which is great. Air fryers are super popular. They can sit on your counter so they can free up room for the rest of the meal in your traditional oven, right? So beef and blue cheese. Beef and mushrooms go together so beautifully. So we're gonna start by just hollowing out a cremini mushroom. Now, I love cremini mushrooms because they're super meaty, they have a lot of great flavor, and again, they pair really well with that ground beef. Okay, this is what goes in here. We've got lean ground beef, we've got some breadcrumbs, dried thyme, blue cheese. Now, if you're not a blue cheese lover, I happen to love blue cheese. Do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. If you don't happen to love blue cheese, you could absolutely do something like a goat's cheese or something like that, and a little bit of Dijon mustard. That gets mixed around. And you could also do these in portobello mushroom caps. Those are really nice if you want to do something like a main with a side salad. But then this just gets stuffed into the mushrooms.
I love how they become nature's mini bowls, right?
Exactly. And the beef and the blue cheese, they go into the air fryer and they cook at 400 degrees for about 10 10 minutes for the little size.
Okay.
If you're not sure about if they're done, use an instant read thermometer. I'm a big fan of that. 160 degrees Fahrenheit is when the ground beef is completely cooked.
Nice.
But a great little appetizer or a main for anyone. Really.
Yeah, and that's really quick. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh my God, I have friends coming over.
Look how cute these are.
Those are absolutely adorable, and that's what they look like when they come out. Okay, next you have some sesame fried feta.
So this is easy. You get yourself a beautiful piece of feta. I try to get the best one you can afford. Okay, it's going to be better. It's going to be less saltier. You're simply going to do a breading station. So it's whipped eggs, some sesame seeds, black and white. You dip the feta cheese in the eggs, and then you follow that with the sesame seeds, and then you bake it in the air fryer at 400 degrees, again for about 12 to 15 minutes until it gets nice and brown on the exterior. And this is fun. This is just something a little bit different to do for the cheese platter instead of, I know we love charcuterie, but let's do a little bit something different.
Yeah,
right?
It's super pretty, almost just like a mosaic for your cheese.
Exactly, and you can serve it with little peppers and little crackers, and it's just the perfect little chease bite nibble.
Wow. Right. I
Yeah.
thought you were going to offer it to me. But
Oh,
I was going to
I was, but maybe after you have to talk.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I do. Okay, lastly, but trust me, I'll be eating it. Lastly, bean and cheese taquitos?
Yeah, so taquitos, what makes them different is that they're fried. So putting them in the air fryer allows that exterior to get really nice and brown and crusty. This is just simply refried beans, a little bit of shredded cheese. You roll it up in a little tortilla, pop it in the air fryer until it's nice and crispy, and then serve it, of course, with salsa or sour cream. A little squeeze of lime is always nice on there, and those are perfect for the kids or for anyone, really.
And the air fryer, is it still the healthier option? They used to always.
It's essentially it's a countertop convection oven, but the thing is you do not have to warm it up, right? It doesn't take any time to warm up. You can do things even like burgers or steaks, like in the winter, if you don't want to heat up your barbecue, or if you don't want to go outside, you can get that nice exterior crust. So steaks are great in the air fryer. People love it.
Well, how do we find the recipes then? Because I'm too distracted. I'm like, food. How do I find your recipes?
All the recipes are at andreabucket.com.
Okay, I'm heading there, and I'm definitely going to be eating this as soon as we go to break. We are setting it to break. Sorry I can't share this with you, but you can make it your own now that you can find it on Andrea's website. We'll be back more on CP24 Breakfast right after this. So do I get to eat?
Absolutely.